Okay, let's do the very last get ready with me of this channel. Ugh. Kind of a terrifying experience, but I wanted to pop on here. Do you want to say for the 5th and final time? I don't know if you guys know the Key and Peele reference. It's been, no surprise, a very hot minute since I have been on this platform and since I've checked in with you guys, and I feel like it was, I don't want to say weighing heavily on me because I feel like that's a little bit too much weight to be giving the situation, but I have been thinking about how I kind of deuced from YouTube without really giving closure. I also feel like there was a lot of like up and downs in terms of me making claims that like things would get better and I would be here, and then I was like, just kidding, I'm backpedaling, I don't know if things are gonna get better. And I think enough time has passed that I do have some stuff I want to pass along in terms of information. Again, if you hear my stuffy, sniffly nose, I'm so sorry. I really apologize. I hate the sound of my voice right now, but I really don't have a better time to film this, which is why I'm mostly going to put on this makeup for old time's sake and then immediately go take it off and go into ritual work. But I thought it would be really, shall I say, cleansing, full circle moment of me to do a little bit of like a, what is my everyday makeup routine, and then kind of close out this chapter. Spoiler alert, that's kind of like what we're doing today, so it'll be a fun business as usual get ready with me, and also like a why I am changing my YouTube channel slash moving away from making this content. I do have my iconic little notebook, which I have had since the inception of this YouTube channel, but this is my final get ready with me. I don't know if I have like dropped the ball on it too quickly, but I am stepping away from making this kind of content. I mean, surely we know by now because I have been MIA and unavailable for making content, but in an official capacity, it is a little bit terrifying to be saying this because I have had this channel for, what, 3-4 years, maybe longer, if you count all the videos that I've posted that like got 100 views and then, you know, were left by the wayside. But makeup, YouTube, and makeup being the primary thing that I consume on YouTube, and YouTube being my primary consumption, this has been my life since I was 9-10 years old, which is, you know, when we think about the Gen Alpha kids who are running amok in society, doing the whole thing without having third spaces and basically infringing on what we see as like a very adult space, for, you know, for good and for bad, or for better for worse. I was one of those like 10-year-old Gen Alpha kids who was obsessed with makeup at an age where it just wasn't developmentally appropriate. And, you know, I did get my official autism screening and my autism diagnosis. I have a whole thing now. I have a letter, I have accommodations and all that stuff. But, you know, at this point, I see now it was a really long and pervasive experience of a special interest, which is great and it's fine. But I think it will be good for me to step away because I feel like I personally find that it serves me in a different way than how it used to. And I don't know, I think there's a lot of like wonderful things that came from this. I do want to do like a little recap, like down memory lane, I guess, to talk about some of the positives and the negatives and like all the thinking patterns behind this. But I do also selfishly want to do this like get ready with me and show you guys what's been popping with my makeup routine, because I will say I think my makeup style has toned down a lot. I don't really do anything interesting anymore. Like, I'm just using a liquid blush. This is the NARS Orgasm liquid blush, but, you know, it's just, I feel like I'm not doing anything interesting. And I feel like makeup YouTube has kind of put me in a rut a little bit, just because, like, a lot of it has been product reviews and, like, roundups, and I find that more and more I'm not necessarily needing more product. I'm also not necessarily, like, super vibing with, like, I don't really care about the looks that are trending anymore. Not that I found what works and it is what it is. Like, there are times when I do seek out what's trending, but I do think kind of like keeping up with this channel and keeping up with beauty trends and trying to do like project plan and all that stuff, as much as I enjoyed it, I don't think I currently would enjoy going back onto that schedule and feeling like, yeah, this is like the genuine recreational use of my time and my experience. So I do just want to be fully transparent in that I haven't been doing this for a while because it's clearly not what I want to be doing with my time. Like, I don't feel like it sounds really bad to be like, I don't care about this anymore, I don't want to do it anymore, I've moved on. But in a way, I feel like so many YouTubers I still watch on and off, but it feels like they continue to do this because it's their job. And so it makes sense for them to continue to produce makeup content about like what's coming out, what's trending, to do like reactions to new releases, and to do kind of like anti-hauls, and to do, you know, roundup of like what's in my makeup basket, what's, you know, recommended makeup for beginners. But with short form content being so popular, and you know, my business situation being the way that it is, or, you know, I'll get into that a little bit later, but it just feels a little bit painful to like continue holding on to something that I feel like doesn't serve me personally in this stage of my life right now as much. And I don't feel like holding on to that guilt. I don't know. I mean, is it a radical idea to say that? But at the same time, what is, I think the hard thing that I've come to grips with is that I want to delete what is on my channel. And I think that will be the part where I feel really like sad. And not that I'm asking permission, but I do feel like the reason why I wanted to come onto this channel is to give you a heads up, I guess. I don't know if that's like a reasonable thing to do, but yeah, like if anyone wants to like rewatch anything or save anything for reference and go like rip the files of this video for whatever reason, if there's a comfort video that you have of mine, I want to tell you now that I am highly considering privating all of the videos on my channel, because not that they come from like a really traumatizing period of my life, but I don't think anyone loves to see themselves in their past. And as much as I like made this YouTube channel as a way to like document my history and to like see myself grow up, which I did, and I think it was really great, but I am currently going through a lot of work on myself. Again, like recently diagnosed, like late diagnosed, freshly diagnosed, late autistic, an ADHD, fully neurodivergent person, getting like a new lease on life. And like I've been very transparent about mental health being a difficult thing for me. I made this YouTube channel as an adult, right? Like that was kind of the period of time when I was coming into myself, and that's why I really enjoyed making YouTube videos. And then I found a very niche community and I really enjoyed it, but I feel like at this point I would like to move away from making videos in this capacity, like in the makeup community specifically, like exclusively, I guess. I have done like stationary videos here and there, but I just feel like once you get monetized, even if the monetization is so little and so paltry and like so itty bitty, like I probably make what, 20 cents a month, but I feel like I personally pigeonholed myself into a corner, and the corner is just not serving my needs as much anymore. So yeah, that's the gist, is I'm trying to maybe remove my content. I learned so much, I grew so much, I think so many positive things and relationships came out of this. So yeah, the rest of this video is going to be me finishing this look. I think we're literally almost done, so I'm kind of stressed about that. So if we finish, I might just talk. But I want to do a little pros and cons and kind of talk about a trip down memory lane, and I guess the next step will be like where we're going after this, and kind of my intentions, as well as any life updates if I have them. I don't know, I'm still trying to get used to the feeling of talking on camera again. I will say one of the great benefits to developing a YouTube channel really early on is I was very, very comfortable with camera speaking and I guess public speaking. From, I would say like a young age, like from my teens is when this kind of started. I think my first YouTube channel my first YouTube video I filmed when I was like 19 years old or 18 years old. And I like was posting on YouTube regularly and editing myself, figuring out the cadence of how to speak when you need to edit, because there's a different manner of speech. It's not like the same way you would talk in real life. It's a very different, why does my face look like such a different color to my body? But I think that's like the most surface level. I think on a very basic level, I have mentioned that this was a really big part of my life for a really long time. And when I say this, I'm not necessarily just referring to the fact that I have a YouTube channel, but I'm also talking about the fact that like YouTube channels were a thing, even because, you know, like I mentioned, this has been a special interest of mine since I was like pre-puberty, right? I have been interested in beauty and fashion and styling, all manner of kind of self-expression for a really long time, and I still am, but the way that it took shape finally was for me to be able to participate actively in this community. And it's wonderful. I think it's a really safe way for me to engage in a community to feel humanized, because I think being on forums and stuff, as much as it's nice to like quickly get a lot of information, I also think you lose a lot of the personal connection, if you can say that. I think when you're at such a small level like I am, you genuinely can form personal connections with people, and you can genuinely develop like honest discourse and like a really warm relationship with people over shared interests. And for me, that was really important for my own like experience of the outside world, which again, like based on my history and being able to untangle all this stuff like in my personal life and doing a lot of work on myself, I realize outside perspective and connection to others is something that's really, really hard for me. And I think when it's your life, it's really hard to recognize that there's a gap, or there's a difference between your life and maybe the lived experiences of other people. But for me, it was really important to kind of have at least something as like a touchstone. And as college and after college became very increasingly lonely, you know, compared to life in middle school or life in high school, and as I got further and further away from those years that I felt like were so normal and so like, you know, typical, and then, you know, I start to grow up, and mentally I just feel like I'm still waiting for things to go back to how they were in childhood, and they're not going back. I think gaining outside perspective was something that I really relied on through YouTube and social media and like being a part of this. And it is a creative outlet. It was a new set of skills. I developed a comfort with myself and with my community. I was in touch with society in a way that like allowed me to kind of have a pulse on what society thought about things, whether or not they were important values for me to like have in my own life was kind of a separate issue altogether. But I just don't think I can understate how important it is to like have a connection to like the world. I think for most people that goes without saying, but I will say now, as someone who doesn't have that, I just see it as so valuable. I almost wish I could be more invested in makeup nowadays, because I feel like without it, I'm kind of like a twig floating in the wind, just kind of like doing my own twig thing, which is great. I have always kind of felt like that, but it can feel a little bit like unstable and untethered. So this was a great way for me to stay creative, to keep in touch with other people, and do things that feel a little bit risky for me, but in a very like small and balanced way. And when I started my business, it only became more important, right, to like have relationships and to be comfortable on camera and to be editing and all that stuff. But at a certain point, I do think it was causing me harm in a few different ways. One of the ways that I feel like I was not being served is I pigeonholed myself in a way that I don't think was anyone's like desire or fault. But I really thought it would be important to focus on like a handful of things, and to do that stuff kind of, even though I wasn't really gaining much benefit. Like again, I mentioned I don't really make much money from AdSense. I don't really have like a ton of sponsorships. I did have a handful of sponsorships, and those were really incredible experiences, because who in their right mind could say that like they got sponsorships when they have such a small channel? And it's such a like humble little situation that I have, but it was very cool. For old time's sake, I'm gonna put on one of my favorite lipsticks. This is Forever Night. Yeah, Forever Night from Dior 111. So on a regular day, this would just be the look with like a nude lip. If I am going to the city or meeting friends or going shopping, I often throw on a dark lip. Ideally, I would have shaved my little mustache hairs, because I have like dark mustache hairs on the sides of my mouth, and when I wear a dark lip, you can really see them. But yeah, this is pretty much the look. I typically would probably do a little bit of black liquid liner and some mascara, so let's do that. But yeah, I think I decided that because I was in this kind of makeup space, no-buy space, project pan space, I didn't want to try other things, which I don't know what I got in me to believe that like at my level I had to be pigeonholed into a thing. There was no reason. And then I also think makeup had to look a certain way for me, for it to like be worth experimenting with, or I felt like if I didn't have anything interesting to say about makeup, if I didn't have anything interesting to do about makeup, there was like no reason for anyone to follow me, which I still feel, which I know is kind of like a fallacy, because there are plenty of creators out there who don't really do anything particularly new or like interesting, in the sense that like they're not breaking any molds, but they have an audience because, you know, people enjoy what they do. And if people enjoy what you do, you know, your work is like it's worth doing, right? I'm not here to say that unless you are some like eccentric person who has like a crazy singular vision, you shouldn't be putting out stuff. Like that's just not true. But I guess it was holding me back a little bit, like the belief that I didn't really have anything meaningful to contribute in makeup anymore, because I'm like not buying new stuff. I'm not really using much makeup. I'm not really consuming much makeup content. I don't really care much for makeup in my regular life, besides the fact that like I do my makeup in the morning and it still is something that I enjoy doing. Just because I've like developed a taste for what I like, and like, don't get me wrong, I still love when, you know, when I put on my blush in the morning. Like, I think the experience of putting on makeup is equally satisfying as it has always been and will continue to be. Like, and, you know, I'm sure this feeling will endure through time for me, but in terms of like my, you know, utility as a content creator, I just feel like it's not there anymore, right? I also think I developed a fairly poor self-esteem through YouTube, and that's not anyone's fault but mine. So we're not like saying that being a content creator makes you feel bad about yourself. That's like definitely not the situation. And if anything, I feel like recording myself on video reminds me that I don't look as bad as I think I do. Like in photos, I promise you, photos that like my husband takes of me that are candid, any photos that are not like edited to high hell are awful. So I always just thought I was like the most hideous little potato, and anything that I believed about myself that was negative was true, because I photographed so poorly. But I think at least in video it comes out a little bit more true to life, and that has thank God given me a little bit more self-confidence back. But I will say, especially being in the beauty space, you know, in particular, where your whole thing is hyper fixating on your features and like what they look like, and like the minuscule differences between like, you know, a product that does, you know, poor stuff versus something that doesn't do poor stuff. And I also feel like, you know, knowledge of skincare is a necessity, and just the level of scrutiny that is required to be an excellent beauty content creator, which, you know, I think it's good to have that. I think any artist worth their salt needs to have that like really strong level of discretion. And I think especially as someone who is like really passionate about this kind of thing, it's great. But I will say, in terms of my self-esteem and my body image, in terms of seeing like my face gaining and losing weight, you know, skin having and not having pimples, and like just constantly having to see that and edit it and, you know, be aware of it. It was just, I don't want to say causing problems, because that feels a little bit strongly worded, but, you know, just not ideal for someone who is trying to develop like body neutrality with themselves. And in taking a step back from looking at myself really closely, taking a step back from social media, and like, if you've not seen, like, I just don't post on my business account anymore because it's dying, and we're closing. But my life has gotten significantly better now that I don't really care about my looks at all. And I think it's so sad to say, because I wish beauty as a hobby and beauty as like a personal attribute could be separated, right? Like, if only we could play with makeup without the implications of what makeup is used for in society, right? Which is typically to beautify, and to make ourselves more attractive, in whatever way you believe is attractive. But for me, I think because what I started to use makeup for was less creative expression, right? Like that really, really avant-garde kind of daily makeup started to go out the wayside for me. Like, I wasn't really doing huge red smoky eyes on a regular basis. Like, I'm not doing it today. I guess I am still like somewhat rocking an alternative look because I have like a dark lip on, but I think more and more my makeup style became very conventional. Like, I just wanted to do a little bit of makeup in the morning and go. Or oftentimes I didn't do any makeup at all. And so it just felt like, I don't want to say out of touch, but it just felt like it was inappropriate, or like not necessarily something that I felt like I could continue to do, because just the level of interest and keeping up with the Joneses was just not a thing that I could do. And I think the most important thing that I feel like I have to mention is that there's just a really sore spot because of my business closing. And I think that's the last thing I want to talk about, besides the life updates, which there are very, very few. One is which we've been trying to move, can't move. It's been a whole thing. Second of which, I've been trying to get a job for like the last 6 months. The job market is absolutely brutal. I'm sure you guys have heard. And if remarkably people have not been getting laid off in your life and are not looking for jobs, it's been like a total nightmare. A total dystopian nightmare. I'm just praying that we can get through it soon. I have some stuff that I'm hopeful will bring me fruitfulness, but I never want to like get any of my eggs in one basket or get my hopes up too high. But generally, I think because this period of my life has been so thoroughly documented on YouTube, and because it's just so here, it is a little bit of a painful reminder to like come back to something old. I just feel like I want to cut all of these loose ends. I want to feel like a new person. I am embarking this year on a full transformation of self, like a full re-identity thing. I'm really trying to figure out like the kind of person that I want to be. This has been the kind of very intensive therapy work that I've been doing over the last year. And of course with like my new diagnoses that have been like officially granted to me by, you know, health boards and stuff. It's been, I guess like formal permission to take stock at every point of my life. Like, what do I want to do? Is it what I actually want to do? Am I doing something because I feel like it's the right thing to do versus like something that I want to do? So those are all kind of new things that I'm experiencing. And the more I think about kind of this channel and what it's represented for me, I don't necessarily know that kind of dragging it along would be nice. I would like to do something that feels a little bit more current to me. So now we're stepping into what's going to be happening with the channel. I would like to convert this to a knitting channel, which sounds a little bit crazy maybe. Originally I had really all intents and purposes. Also, should I do the white makeup instead? Because I feel like I did that last time and people enjoyed seeing the look. So this is like the regular look. This is what I've been doing, right? This is like my everyday makeup, really light kind of everyday Dior makeup, if you could say that. And usually I would do mascara, but the mascara literally is not gonna make a difference on camera, and I'm gonna take this off immediately after. And liquid blush with a brush, and like this highlight, this canmake highlight, which I have fully, like it's been my everyday highlighter to the point where it's now like, yeah, she's dented. There's like almost nothing, not nothing, but it's like half used up already because I've been using this product so much. Okay, we're gonna try it with the Haus Labs foundation to do, I don't know, like an overlayer. Can I do that? Is it gonna come out really messed up? I mean, in all honesty, probably it will come out messed up, but let's just try it. But yeah, it might seem a little crazy to be like a knitting channel. Like, what are you talking about? Like, why knitting? Which is fair for you to ask. But it has been a really important self-care tactic. And I have been really involved in the knitting community online since I have started knitting. And I've been crocheting for 6-7 years now. And I have been obviously using a lot of those online resources as well for the many years that I have been crocheting. But I will say the knitting community, if any of you guys are miraculously also into knitting, has a lot of the really positive parts of the makeup community on YouTube, like the same positives, but there are some pointed negatives that don't really exist in the knitting community. And I kind of want to get into like part of why I want to join the knitting community and kind of convert this into that kind of channel. So if you would humor me and kind of listen to the transition, this is officially the pitch for if you want to stay and kind of see what this channel transforms into over the next, 6 months or so. Basically, the knitting community, because it's not appearance based, obviously I think that will help in some of the dysphoria around like looking good all the time. And it's also a much smaller industry. So like we don't really have influencers. There are obviously some people who are bigger than others, but even the people who are really big in the knitting world are mostly just like small business owners who, have an online social media presence, but they're not typically people who are like full-time influencers. It's usually like business owners who do content on the side because, they want to create value, which is good and I have no qualms with that. Okay, so this is the makeup with the white face. It's a smaller niche community that is mostly based on handicraft and not necessarily on consumerism as much. Obviously, there is a consumerist aspect to the knitting world, as there is to any world that we live in right now, but it's definitely a lot easier to manage in terms of like the FOMO, and it's just like a slower sport. It's a slower interest, I guess. Like you can speed knit, I guess, but most people are going at like a relatively slowish pace. And it's a different world. I feel like since I have stepped into it, it's really been nourishing to see normal people do normal things. The community aspect is there. The friendly competition and like, being a better version of yourself, all of that is still there. Learning new skills, that's all there. So it's not really like a compromise on anything. It's still aesthetic, right? Because it still is a kind of beauty and a kind of art that I really enjoy. But the parts that I feel like were hard for me, which was the like really strong emphasis on like my body image and like the way that I was looking all the time and feeling like, items were like a necessity or like creating new designs or like coming up with something really inventive as it like it feels a little bit different as opposed to in the knitting podcast world where everyone just kind of like documents what they're doing, and it feels really wholesome, and it feels a little bit more like, I don't know, I don't want to say low-key, but it feels more low-key, I guess. That's what I'm gonna say. So it is just appealing to me to convert my channel to a knitting channel. And I also will feel a little bit less weird about just doing like vlogs, travel vlogs, or even like get ready with me's, you know, so you might still see get ready with me's, I don't know. I'm gonna treat it more like a fun time channel. So I will not encourage you to like unsubscribe, but like if you're fully disinterested in this new direction that I'm taking, I want to say thank you so much for coming along with the ride. I haven't fully decided whether or not I'm going to be deleting everything off of this channel yet, because like as of now it's a little bit painful to like see parts of my life where ultimately I've had to give up like everything, right? I have to give up my teaching career because that didn't serve me. I had to give up my small business because we weren't able to keep it alive, and this beauty content creation thing, you know, didn't pan out because I didn't end up like doing what I wanted to do in this direction either, and just having all of it here all the time is like a sad reminder. And I know I'm gonna get a lot of like really positive and heartwarming messages about how, you know, like it was great and like not everything is gonna last forever and it's all fine and good, but I just feel like at least for now I need a little bit of distance. So I invite you to unsubscribe if you feel like you've been, you know, holding out for something, because I don't think more makeup content will be coming your way. Ideally, I will be back and, you know, doing new stuff if you find it interesting, or you want to like at least hang along and see what it'll be like. I think this year will be a lot of fun. I think I will be like a way cooler person by the end of the year. And I want to thank you for all the stuff that you've done, like as viewers, as collaborators, as people who have been here with me, estranged friends and family, and, you know, professional coworkers who still have, you know, this access to me. I think has been really cool. Like people who have like seen what I've been up to on social media, I think is like crazy. But thank you for that. I feel like it's been really hard. It's been a hard life. It's been a hard time with my brain and like my thoughts and all that stuff. But I do feel like if YouTube had not been there for me, it would have been a lot worse. I don't know if I'd be here, but at the very least I can say that I really enjoyed what I had here. And I worked really hard to kind of build up a following, and I feel sorry to say that we're going to be pivoting. And I don't think I have the strength in me to like keep all the like parts before this. If you have really strong opinions and you really feel like I shouldn't be deleting my stuff or like privating it, let me know. But other than that, this was kind of just like a courtesy call and like a farewell, and a love letter to everything that we have here. I mean, I still love makeup. I still love playing with things, but I just feel like there's nothing for me to contribute, and I feel like it's a little painful for me to kind of like stay in the same place. I hope it doesn't come off as like weird or naggy, and I hope there's more than like 3 people who watch this, but I don't know, it's weird. It's hard to say goodbye, but you know, if you have been here and you were getting off at this final stop, thank you so much for being here. Again, I don't know how else I can explain it. So many doors have opened for me. So many experiences, positive memories have come from this. I hope it was fun, you know, being here for the ride and learning and, you know, passing your days and your time, which is, you know, our most valuable resource. And if you want to continue on this journey with me, thank you so much for giving me the patience and giving me another chance. Hopefully we'll have some uploads soon. And the last thing I want to say is we are getting rid of all my inventory in my shop because it's like it's closing. I think I'm gonna remove all the stock that I have and do mystery boxes that are pay what you want. I have a ton of stuff left: eyelashes, candles, you know, resin, home decor, teas, like lotions, soaps, scrubs, like all that jazz, jewelry. I think I will just do pay what you want mystery boxes because I just need to get rid of my inventory before we move, because we are gonna have to downsize to like a 1-bedroom apartment. So I'm trying to get rid of stuff. If you want anything, definitely check it out. But that site is gonna be donezo in like a month. So that's the last thing I have to say. And for now, that is it. And I will see you or I won't. Bye.